We are also getting, I think, the first pictures that are already up on our screens. Qatar hosts the Al Udeid Air Base, and this is a forward headquarters of the CENTCOM, and approximately about 10,000 US soldiers amongst other US assets. Now, Reuters says that explosions have been heard over Doha. There are multiple reports also talking of certain more US military bases that possibly have been hit. Reports say Iran has retaliated against the US strike. US base in Qatar has been attacked is what we are learning. And Vivek, the information is limited, but if you are looking at an escalation at a scale like this, and Reuters says that there are explosions in Doha, what more can you tell us?
So these are still early minutes of the reports coming in that these bases have been attacked. As you mentioned, Al Udeid is one of the biggest overseas bases of any US army. This houses about 10,000 troops, as you rightly mentioned. There are other at least 30,000 troops stationed in all over Middle East. There are at least 27 bases all over Middle East in Qatar, Bahrain. In Doha, as you mentioned, is the biggest air base in the region. So it has to be seen how many missiles actually hit these bases, or these were just symbolic strikes. There were many experts suggesting that Iran could retaliate, but it would mostly be symbolic. These missiles could land in the nearby territories of these bases. They won't actually go on to hit the exact spot. So it has to be seen if these missiles actually penetrated US defense shield and hit the exact area or not. These are some early reports coming in. Explosions have been heard in Doha. Doha is one of the most developed cities in the Middle East. It is sort of the epicenter of a lot of these negotiations that go on across the world. Many ceasefire negotiations start from Doha, and now Doha has been bombed by Iran is what the reports are suggesting. So it will be interesting to see what Qatar says now, because Qatar has been involved in a lot of ceasefire negotiations. Now that Qatar itself could be attacked, it will be interesting to see what Qatar has to say now.
Vishal, in case these reports are true and you're looking at an escalation to this level where the US military bases have possibly been struck by Iran, what could this mean in plain, simple terms?
It would mean war between US and Iran at the biggest scale, something we have not seen in the recent past or in the recent decades, because US did drop the bombs in Iranian territory. Three big spots in the Iran territory were bombed. They were not civilian territories. They were not civilian infrastructure that were bombed. Those were nuke facilities. So this, if this strike yields some damage to the US troops that are stationed in the region, if some US troops go on to be grievously injured, or if they go on to be, to die in the process, that will be the biggest escalation this conflict has seen.
A moment, I want to read a statement that has come in from the Iranian armed forces. We'll also get Vishnu Shiv all with us as our team is tracking the story in real time. Now, this is a statement that has come in by the Iranian armed forces. Allow me to quote. It says, following the blatant military aggression of the criminal regime of the United States of America against the peaceful nuclear facilities of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the clear violation of international law by the Supreme National Security Council and the leadership of the Central Headquarters, it says that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps with the Sacred Code has targeted the Al Udeid base in Qatar. So you're looking at that statement right now coming in with a devastating and powerful missile attack, it says, in Operation Bisharat Fateh. They say this base is the headquarters of the Air Force and the largest strategic asset of the US terrorist army, they are calling them, in the West Asian region. It goes on to say that the message of the decisive action of the sons of the nation in the armed forces is clear and unequivocal for the White House and its allies. Then it talks about the aggression of the American enemy, and it says it becomes clear to everyone that the evil of the Zionists was an extension of the American design. And they continue to talk about how there is not going to be a de-escalation. Vishnu, I'm told, is also with us. Vishnu, what more can you add to what we know?
Well, what we are seeing right now is a massive escalation of the situation. It's a worst case scenario. A lot of people felt that the strikes would essentially, the war would remain between Iran and Israel. We've seen yesterday America actually making it clear that they were directly involved in this. The American attacks which took place, taking out 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran has decided that they are going to extend this not just by attacking Israel, which they've done all day, but in fact, by directly attacking American interests in the region. Now, remember, America has many military bases across the region, and therefore it is a matter of concern for them. And this is the largest one, Al Udeid base. In just the last little while, and perhaps an indicator of what was coming, Qatar, which is one of the most important aviation destinations, has in fact gone ahead and have said that they've shut down their airspace. Now, be that as it may, the situation now is critical, and we really do need to see what is going to take place from here onwards. There are several military bases of the Americans across the region, in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Iraq, in Bahrain. They've had close associations across the region, not just air bases, but naval bases as well. There are American carrier forces already deployed in the Indian Ocean, presumably in the Persian Gulf as well, in the Red Sea as well. And therefore, you can expect an almost instantaneous American response. America has warned Iran that should they choose to attack, should they choose to actually go ahead and increase the scope of the operations itself, then America will hit them very, very hard. Now, we do not know at this juncture about the success of the operations which have taken place. But I think there is an important piece of news that I want to share right now. It's come to me from sources in Air India. I say Air India because remember, that entire airspace now, one of the most busy air corridors, where tens of thousands of Indian passengers fly every few hours, that has essentially been impacted. Qatar has shut down its airspace. There were a couple of Air India flights which had taken off. I've been told that 2 of those flights have returned. One is diverted to another area. And as I understand it, Indigo flights have also diverted or returned. Remember, India has massive air links with the Middle East. And the immediate cause of concern for India as well is the safety of passengers on those flights. The video that you see on your screen, explosions heard over Doha. I'm trying to pull out some of my data, some of my stats on American bases across the region. But Al Udeid is one of the bases which has been the largest American bases in the region. They've had squadrons of fighter aircraft. They've had refuelers over there. They've had other military assets as well. And therefore, what we are now seeing is a worst case scenario of an expansion of the entire West Asia scenario going well beyond Israel and Iran and the US to include Iranian attacks. Now we are told not just against Doha, Qatar, but potentially, I use that word because we are still awaiting final confirmation that there are attacks which could be taking place against other American bases across the region. In fact, if you go through that statement which the Iranians have made in just the last little while, they have said that America's bases across the region are in fact not something which is a strength for America, but a source of weakness. But as far as, and therefore it is going to be a problem for America, is what Iran claims. Now, just in terms of their statement, the Al Udeid base in Qatar, per Iran, this base is the headquarters of the Air Force, the largest strategic asset of the US terrorist army, they call them, in the West Asia region. The message of the decisive action of the nation, it sends a clear message, is what Iran is trying to send at this stage. Now, Donald Trump, the US president, is in the Situation Room in the White House. We're trying to get more details of what exactly is taking place. The Indian embassy in Qatar has just issued a statement. We're going to flash that. And they've said that in view of the ongoing situation, the Indian community in Qatar is urged to be cautious and remain indoors. Please remain calm, follow local news instructions and guidance provided by Qatari authorities. The embassy will also keep updating through our social media channels. Now, remember, again, we are an Indian network. Our focus is on Indian interests in our country and outside India as well. In terms of the Middle East, and West Asia. There are massive Indian populations, certainly a huge Indian non-resident population in Qatar itself. Therefore, that statement from the External Affairs Ministry through the Indian Embassy in Doha is absolutely critical. Now, there are bases, very important ones, of the Americans in places like Saudi Arabia as well. That's another country where there are lakhs of Indians who are resident. And therefore, that is a concern which we would need to look at. But the footage that you see on your screen right now is absolutely striking. It shows volleys of interceptor missiles and incoming ballistic missiles as well from Iran in the direction of the Al Udeid base. Now, I do not know about the success of the strikes. We do not know that at this stage, but clearly in that video in the middle of your screen a few moments back, you were able to actually see interceptions of incoming ballistic missiles. President Trump currently in the Situation Room monitoring this particular situation. There was also an Akasa air flight headed to Kuwait, returning to Mumbai. It is now returning to Mumbai after Iran launched missiles at US bases in Qatar. So just again, there will be a cascading impact on Indian travel involving tens of thousands of travelers looking to move west if airspace in that region is impacted. So that's one very important direct scenario that I'd like to tell you about. We should try and pull out Flight Radar 24. But in case our viewers have just tuned in, the big story that we continue to track at this stage is the Iran attack, Iran's retaliation on retaliation to America's attack on 3 of their nuclear facilities by hitting the Al Udeid base in Qatar. That's the largest American base in the region.